He hasn't started yet. No better way than to make some. Thank you very much.
Yes, so public access. Henry's here. Welcome, Henry. First up, we have something, so just to give a little context around, throughout the years, we have had focus groups. I have a lot of conversations about phone, text. I'm Dr. Field sometimes. So what we always want you to provide is that we do listen. We do listen to the voice of the customer, and our customers serve. You serve our members, we serve you. So one of the items that came up is ethics. And so today the theme is professional development, so everything is connected. So the first person we're going to have come up is Charmaine Moore-Miller. She's going to go up, she's going to talk about board ethics and guidelines to root cause. Charmaine.
I love Charmaine.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, come on, y'all. Good morning. I know a lot of you know don't, so I'm going to just use that for a few seconds to talk about why she even be listening to me. Why is she on this program? What was she to talk about ethics? I'm talking about what ethics, Shonda. You know, I spent this time with you now. So we're going to talk about ethics, compliance, governance, right? What do you do on the board? But really quickly, I just want to tell you a little bit about me. All this is cool stuff, but the most important thing about me, yes, I'm from Chicago. I work for Kaiser Permanente. Yes, pretty city. I work for Kaiser Permanente. I'm the vice president of marketing, communications, and community relations, as well as health. But the most important thing that you guys are interested in is I'm a lifetime member. I'm an Atlanta chapter president for 2 terms. I'm a national board member. This is my last year, y'all. I'm retired. Thank you. I have been a corporate partner. I have been hired at a conference in the senior director role. So when I tell you I am passionate about this organization, when I tell you that I know this organization from every lens, from every perspective, I stand here and say what I am sharing with you is real experience. It's not what someone told me. It's not what I read in a book. This is what I've experienced. And this is a great organization. Thank you for being a leader in this organization and representing us in the cities where you live and serve. Because we cannot do this work without you. But the work must be done correctly. The work must be done with ethics, with compliance, with governance. You can't just willy-nilly be on board. You can't make up your own rules. And that's what I understand sometimes we do. So we want to stop that right. So one of the things I want you to do, and this is just kind of a pre-test and post-test, right? So write your board title, whatever your title is. If you don't have one, that's okay. Just write board. And then what is the top 5 responsibilities for your role on the board? So if you're president, what are your 5, not 100 things that you do, what are the top 5 things that you do? I saw somebody go, You know, one of the things I tell my team, we do something called Focus on 4. Every week, they tell me what are the 4 top things they're working on. Because you should be spending 80% of your time on the most important things. I know you do 100 things, but where are you spending 80% of your time? Because if it's not on the right 4 things, then we need to reprioritize. And that's the same thing as a leader on the board. So this is what we're going to cover. It starts with alignment, your role, knowing the rules, and what makes a great board member. Chandra, I hope I'm meeting your expectations, because this is what we're gonna go for the next hour. So I know she talked about ethics, but you know what? We can't talk about ethics till you understand the mission and the vision and the value of the organization. It drives me crazy that people on boards, and you said, what's the mission of the organization? Have no idea. What's the vision? What they make up. You don't have to make up National Black MBA's mission or vision, because we have one. So here's mission statement, a definition of the company's business, who it serves, what it does, its projected. What is National Black MBA? There you go. This is the national mission, which means it's the chapter's mission.
Yes.
They're not, thank you, somebody said yes. They're not two different missions. National, chapter, they have to align. So vision, this is the desired future state. People get mission and vision confused. Vision is something you never actually attain. It should be less than 20 words. It is aspirational. Mission is your purpose. What's National Black MBA's vision? I love it. Empowering visionary, intellectually, and economically to create a world where diversity and inclusion are universal. Imagine if you ever accomplished that. That's what a vision is supposed to be, aspirational. So you all should have this mission and this vision on everything that you do. It should be on your website, because that's your mission, your vision. It should be the top of your strategic plan. Oh, we do have one of those, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The third thing I want to talk about before we talk about values. This is what you stand for. Because if you don't stand for something, you fall for everything, right? Values have to be aligned between the national, between the board and the officers, and between the members. I like to think about this as a relationship, right? Your values have to be aligned. Some people like to say evenly yoked, right? Because when your values don't align, there is conflict. When your values don't align, there are issues and problems, whether it's your company, whether it's your husband, whether it's your boo. When your values don't align, there's a rub. It's never about the toothpaste. Never, ever. It's never because you're coming in at 8:05 and you're supposed to be there at 8. The values don't align. Right? So we need to make sure that our organizational values, just like our personal values, organizations have value. What are your chapter's values? I don't know, a lot of you remember that I used to go and do training all the time for chapters. How many people remember that?
Yes.
Come in and do training. We always started with an organizational value exercise. What are your top 5 to 10 values for your organization? Interesting exercise. Well, you need to be aligned. What do you stand for, right? And again, it all has to be aligned. Values from the national organization to the board and the officers to the members. This is why I started with mission and vision and values, because they all intersect. They all intersect. For your chapter, they all intersect. If they're not intersecting, let's start with the piece today. Okay. All right. How many chapters do a SWOT analysis? Every year. Ooh, remember we MBAs, Grandmasters, remember how SWOT? Yeah. How about we use it for our chapters? Every year, a SWOT analysis. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. Who sent you to a SWOT analysis? Tell me that. Thank you. And why do you do?
Thank you. Want to understand kind of where we are and where we in those forces.
Thank you. You should look at doing, as part of your retreat, your board retreat, you should look at doing a SWOT analysis every year. What are those things that are changing your community? Is it new companies coming in? Is there new legislation? Are there new companies coming in? That means that you possibly have new members, right? That possibly means you have funding. What does that look like?
Oh, are we gonna get the slide?
Yes, I can make the slide available. That's not my flat out. Okay, so put me on the spot.
I'm sorry.
Okay. But this is important work to do so you understand where you are. Because you can't figure out where you're going until you figure out where you are. And that's what the SWOT analysis does. And a lot of times we forget these basic things that we learned in our MBA class, but it works for everything, not just for business. Keep in mind, your chapter is a business. A nonprofit is a business. Okay. So strategy. So you should also have a strategic plan. Strategic plans last about 3 years. A long time ago, they used to be 5-year strategic plan. No way for that. Happen next year. So it would be good to have a 3-year strategic plan, right? And then an operating plan that says, how are you going to operate this year against your 3-year strategic plan? This is basic stuff every chapter should have. Because if you have this, then you execute against it. You're not trying to make it up every day and every. Okay, so we just covered mission, vision, value, SWOT, strategic and operating plan, because that is the basic that you need before we talk about governance. Before we talk about a board, you need basic things. So any questions about that? Any questions? Did that make sense so far? Yeah?
Yes.
So let's talk about the board of directors. Now I know some people have different structures. Everybody has a board. Is there anybody that doesn't have a board? Okay. Some boards have officers and directors. True? Anybody that doesn't have officers and directors? Go ahead. What chapter is that? Go ahead. What chapter? Chicago. Okay, so you just have what? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, I just want to make sure everybody has. My teaching class, that's what happens. Like, I got it. Thank you. So, everybody has. So, but for some of you, do the directors vote? What chapters the directors don't vote? So we do have some chapters here. What chapter? Cleveland, Detroit,
Seattle.
Indianapolis, Charlotte,
Seattle.
Seattle. Oh wow, okay. So I thought, okay, so we have some structure where the directors vote. I know Atlanta directors vote, they all have equal vote. Who else has equal votes, officers and directors? That's DC. So that's Philly. Okay, Dallas. And Harvard. Okay. And Sean, we already know that. So you probably already have that. So we understand the structure of the chapter and which ones have all voting members and which ones don't. And talk about kind of why you might have that structure versus a different structure. So on most boards, directors and officers all have voting rights. On most, if you serve on a nonprofit board, all directors and that officers are directors. Keep in mind, everybody serves on the board as a director. And then there are a few directors that have officer time. But everyone works. Everyone works on the board. Everyone serves on the board. Everyone has similar responsibilities. And they all have the same liability and they all vote. So I would encourage the chapters where they don't have that structure just to consider it. Just to consider it. Because when everyone has a voice and everyone has a vote, you will get, it's almost like diversity, right? When you're inclusive and everyone at the table has a voice and a vote, you get a lot of different outcomes. Yeah.
Interesting point. Our bylaws. We also run through perform.
Yes.
And we can also talk about, we can have another session on structure. I mean, I'm happy to, Sean, to come back and do that. So the same thing on the board, the officers are elected and the directors are appointed. And they are appointed and ratified by the officers. And then you have committees, and you have committee chairs, right? Which are different than the directors. All right, so just want to make sure for those chapters that have different structures that we all are talking about the same thing. So think about a board, you have directors. Some of those directors are elected officers. Some of those directors are appointed. And I wish I had done a slide of the structure. And then underneath that board structure are committee chairs and committee structure. And that is the way our board works nationally. The national board, the same way, we all vote. There are directors, there are officers. I'm the secretary of the boards, and then we have committees, and people are committee chairs. I'm committee chair of chapter effectiveness. I work hand in hand with Shonda. Okay, so that's the same type of structure. So the board of directors focus on the organization's mission. You heard that before. Strategy, but that's why I added those additional slides, right? And the goals. Goals come into play with the operational plan. That's what the goals are. So those are the three things you focus on. But board members are the fiduciaries who steer the organization towards a sustainable future. Now look at this, by adopting financial management policies and adequate resources. I think people don't understand what it is. It is about governance and financial resources. You can't run a chapter without finance. And you can't run a chapter properly without the correct governance. So those are your two main responsibilities: financial policy as well as adequate resources. And it says adequate because for every chapter is different. If you're a smaller chapter, $50,000 might be adequate. If you're a larger chapter, $200,000 might be adequate. So that's what that word is there, adequate. So governance and organizational support. So let's look at governance. Determine and execute the organization's mission. So you don't have to determine the mission because we already have a mission. All you have to do is execute against the mission that we already have. Ensure a voting process. Okay, there are some chapters where we kind of let that kind of fall on the wayside. There should be a voting process. Terms are, what are your terms? 2 years, 4 years, right? 2 years. And so there should be a policy. And there should also be a nominating committee that they know it's time for election. It's time to send out a willingness to serve to the entire chapter. It's time to get started. How many people do willingness to serve? Does anybody know what that is? Okay, so willingness to serve is we should be sending out, when it's time for elections, we should be sending out a document to every member, even friends of the organization. I'll send it to everybody in the database. It is time for election, and we would love for you to consider serving. It's called willingness to serve. Here are all the positions. Here's the description of the positions. Here is the terms of the position. Please let me know if you would like to serve or you would like to nominate someone to serve. And here are all the various positions. Every year, every time it's time for election, you want to do that. Why? Because it casts a wider net. There are people who have been sitting back thinking about serving. You know what? No one's ever asked. See, somebody said yes. No one's ever asked them. Sometimes people just want to be asked, and it doesn't mean I have to walk up to you and say, would you please serve on the board? Sometimes it's as simple as the willingness to serve document. Provide adequate resources. We talked about that. Safeguard financial resources. That was highlighted because I'm going to spend a minute on that one. That is where we sometimes don't have as tight controls as we need. Assures compliance, we're going to talk about that. Determines and monitors the organization's policies and programs, and enhances the brand. The brand is critical. You all, National IPA has a great brand. I don't know if that's a great brand. Henry, you were walking into, you walking into National IPA, They will open the door, they will take your call. That's important. There are lots of organizations that don't have that. They don't have that passion. So we are fortunate that over the years, with our founders, all the other leaders that we had, they have built a brand. And guess what? You all have built a brand in your communities. When you go up and say, I'm a national community, you go, oh, okay. Right? So we want to maintain that brand. It's important that we continue to build on it and that we do things that make that brand better. That we partner with people and organizations that would make the brand better. Right? So it's important who you partner with. It's important who you have on your stage, who you have as a speaker. All of that represents your brand. You know, when I was Atlanta chapter president and they would tease me, they would say, oh, we're going to have this person speaking. We do them. We don't do cousin them. Wow. We don't do cousin them. No. Why do you want to let you go? Why? What credentials do they have? Are they somebody that's hard to ask? Are they somebody that has something you can hear? Are they subject matter experts? Because otherwise they don't even know my stage. And I said my stage. That's not you. This is your stage. You have to claim your chapter. The chapter represents you. And that's I'm still fighting in the chapter. You know, I'll who? Who? But one of the things that they do is they tap into me. Who are you tapping into? They'll say, do you know so-and-so? Can you call so-and-so? We want to get them for a program. Make sure you are using whoever is in your community and tapping into them. Past presidents, national board members, just community influencers who have an affinity for National Black MBA. How are you leveraging it? How are you leading in? You don't have to do it all by yourself. As I digress. Okay, let's go back to safeguarding financial resources. Y'all, if there's not a slide that you take away, please take a picture. This is where we are getting in trouble, and I'm not sure why. I don't understand that. We all have a bank account. We all get paid some way, right? Somehow, entrepreneur, corporate. But when it comes to the chapter, it seems like you're like, oh, I just keep the check account. Just my name is on there. I'm the only one really needs to be spending the money. Excuse me? 2 signature checking account. 2 signatures. That's you and somebody else in the chapter. Let's be clear. Hey, Chandra, you know, we don't want to tell them some stuff, please, right? I've been associated with this organization for so many years, and I have seen it all. I have heard it all. 2 signature bank account. So first of all, let's have a bank account. Oh, let me start. Do we have a bank account under National Black MBA? That's number 1. Where is it? Who knows the account numbers? And 2 people should have it. Because if something happens to one, and you know what life happens. You get a job, someone has a baby, someone just gets mad at y'all, whatever it is, and it happens, y'all know. There's somebody else that can get to the money. Number 2, monthly financial statement. I don't know who said this, where this came from, that the directors don't get to see the finances. What? There is no organization I would sit on the board that I would see the finances, because you do understand you're a liar. You do understand if something happens and you are on the board, they're going to say, well, didn't you see the financial statements? Didn't you understand $50,000 was missing? Did you not go to the board meeting? Did you not review the statements? Did you not sign off? And you're sitting there, that is not an answer, right? So you should be everybody on that board. And that's why it's kind of important that directors do, you just have to figure out that structure. Everybody should have access and see the monthly financial statements. So you know what, guys? That means you actually have to do monthly financial statements. This goes back to basics. Sean, keep me on time, please. You have to do monthly financial statements, and then you have to let people see them and ask questions about them. I'm not being funny. I'm being very serious.
In order to produce quarterly financial statements, you need to do what I was thinking, okay, payments. Then you read out, so those who are, who want to see. The one last.
What a great question. Thank you so much. Question and statement. So first of all, the cadence. You know, some chapters I get it if you don't meet every month. Well, some organizations meet quarterly, even our national board. We meet every other month quarterly, and but we see a full financial picture quarterly. So if you don't meet monthly, that's okay. That's not your case. Every other month, that's fine. It needs to be more than once a year. You can't say, oh, here's the financials for this year. That doesn't work out. So it needs to be quarterly. And yes, you should be showing all the financial statements. But more importantly, members should have access. One of the things, and I don't know if they still do in Atlanta, was quarterly there was a membership meeting. We actually showed the financials to all members who were at that meeting. So they're quarterly, there used to be, I don't know if you guys still do that? No? Okay. Or semi-annual, there used to be a membership meeting, and they might have went to, it used to be annual or semi-annual. Semi-annual. But they showed the financials to all members. So this is not a secret. The financial statements are not a secret. If there's anybody sitting in this room that has been told otherwise, I am telling you that is wrong. Financial statements and the financial life or where that chapter is open to everyone. Everybody got that that's in this room? Please take that message back. So then you need an approved annual budget. Every year, you should approve a budget. What are we going to spend? What are we going to spend it on? It's approved at the beginning, unlike my budget, which my husband says this, right? You got to do it at the beginning. This is how much we have, and this is what we're going to spend it on. MOT, this program, this cocktail party, what this, if we're going to do professional development training, and you all agree at the beginning of the year, January, February, and then you execute it. An annual audit, or what they call a review. Everyone is not big enough. When I say the chapter is not big enough, the dollars are not there to do an audit every year. Audits are expensive. They're expensive, but you should be doing what's called a financial review every other year, if not every year. Again, this is about being compliant. How many people do a financial review? Chapter, anybody? Every other year. What chapter are you? Charlotte, thank you. What chapter? Every other year? Perfect. Anybody do an audit? Audit back there, that's Carletta. DC, you guys do an audit. Who else does an audit? Atlanta does an audit. Yes, back there with chapter. Houston, okay, audits, great. We want to make sure that we either do an audit or annual reviews. And then the 995, you have to do a 995. You have a choice. No one this isn't like, well, maybe we'll do it. This is required by law. It's required by law. Every chapter must do a 995. Okay? So this slide right here, this is the money slide. Take a picture, write it down. This is safeguarding financial resources for the chapter. Questions about this? Because I've heard a lot. I try to answer everything that I've been hearing from the chapters, from leadership, through Chandra, through other ways. Any questions about this? Yeah.
So the two signature bank accounts.
Yes.
The two signature bank accounts. How do you do that with electronic? So how so
You're right, section. Okay, who has an answer for that? Yes. There you are, right there. Yeah, so just make it close. Let's go. So yes,
what we did is when I became president, everybody's like, oh, we all work very hard. So we don't do tech. So like my law, there's people
Thank you. So the key was, I was using Sherman, I want to add. I was using old terminology, so I just wanted to correct myself. I said, I said two-signature checking account, two-signature bank account. Okay, thank you. Nice. Wow, that's a great idea because everybody should be with DocuSign. And so I want to make sure y'all heard her. She said that for her to get reimbursed, she has to have two other officers sign off. So she can't just say, reimburse me for $10,000. And all of a sudden it's $10,000 missing, right? Two other officers have to sign off. That is great. Thank you so much for that. And DocuSign.
So a question really to that. You really will keep your eyes. Keep your eyes.
Thank you so much for that. Someone just brought, I want to make sure this is important, not just for the chapter, not just for you, because you are live or make it happen, but also when companies want to support you and companies want to sponsor you, sometimes they ask to see your financial. They want to see your 990. So if you haven't prepared any financial statements to show how you're doing, they're like, well, wait a minute, what am I investing in? If you haven't filed your 990, they can't support you because they won't get the write-off, right? They cannot support you if you haven't filed your 990 and you're not a 501c.
This is great dialogue. Thank you.
one of the things that our chapter does as well is we have bylaws, because we do understand that there's a fast paced component to this. If there is a certain amount that we're under that one of our partners has, they have the ability to make that purchase if it's under a certain amount and anything over that amount. So there may be a program coming up that's $80, $110, or $2.
So they have a minimum amount that you can do without it. The only thing you have to be careful of, right, is that somebody does not to say have these people, but it's under 100. Oh, I did 80, I did 95, I did 70, I did 80. So just make sure there's a reconciliation process, right, along with that. Also, if you're looking at another place where we get a little twisted is in reimbursements, which I want to talk about. People just get reimbursed for money they really didn't spend, right? So there should be receipts, there should be a process, there should be multiple people that are reviewing that you really did spend that money and give you the money back. Okay, any other questions? Thank you for the dialogue. This is truly important to run your organization. And as a board member, you should be asking about these things. You should see the 990. I'm on 6 different boards. Every year we see the 990 when it is filed. And they say, this is the 990 board that we filed for you to review. Okay? All right. Board governance. Here are some of the things, and I want you to look at these, right? So you decide responsibility for the board. What are your responsibilities? And they should line with the operating plan. Understand your fundraising duty. It is all about providing adequate resources. So I know some of you are like, well, I don't sign up to be a salesperson. We're not asking you to be a salesperson. Matter of fact, one of the things that when I started to join boards, and I realized it was really about fundraising. Because I hate selling tickets. Anybody else like me? I hate selling tickets. I know. Yes, when someone told me there's a great book, it's called The Ask, right? It's called The Ask. Someone told me one time, they said, Charmaine, it's not about something. Some of you have heard this. When you go see a great movie, right? You see a great movie, you go back and say, oh my God, you got to see this movie. Anybody see the woman? Anybody say, oh my God. I said, you gotta go see that. You gotta go see it. You gotta. So if you're willing, you get paid, you get no royalties for that, right? At all. Matter of fact, you would even ask me what's a good movie to see. I just offer, right? So you can think about national MBA, it's a great thing that you want to share. Well, let me tell you, I'm the national MBA conference. You got to be there next year. You have got to do it. Let me tell you what I have. Just like that movie. You didn't ask about the movie, you asked about that. Okay, I'm sharing. So all of a sudden, you need to be a member. You know what? We're having a golf tournament. Okay, I'm just telling you this. Good workshops. I'm just saying, okay? No. But you have to be an advocate. All of a sudden, when it's something you love, and girls, okay. So when you are an advocate about something you love, it's not selling. You are no longer selling tickets. You're talking about something you're passionate about. You're talking about something that you love. You're sharing with them and saying, come join me. You don't have to ever mention the word sale. You might not even mention it till the end. They're like, wait a minute, how much does this thing cost? You got it. You got it. It's like $20. No big deal. Right? By then, they're all in. So just think about it like that. It's not selling, but it's sharing something you're passionate about. And I think if you try it, that changed my life forever. It changed how I thought about it. It's all about mindset, right? Okay. Practice duty of care. You Lord, you want to talk about that? Align talent, the right people that the organization needs. Put the right butts in the right seat. Don't have somebody doing corporate development that's scared to talk to people. How do you do that? That doesn't make any sense. That would be like good asking me to be the treasurer. No. I don't balance my checkbook. No. I know y'all mentioned that we talk. Okay, appreciate the varying interests of all stakeholders. Now I don't want to talk about this because we are all different. We all have different reasons that we are members of national identity. But we have to respect all those reasons. So if I'm here because I want to learn, and you're here because you really want to get a new job, and you're here because you love the children and you want to LOT, that's fine. Respect everyone's interests. Your interests are not better than your interests. They're different interests. And we need all the interests in order to run the chapter. But we have to respect all the interests of the stakeholders. Speak up and debate. Okay. Debate is a strong word. Speak up and have passionate, spirited. I like the word spirited conversation, right? Because we're not gonna get into a fist fight at a board meeting. It ain't that serious. But some of y'all like, yeah, it is. Yeah. We're not going to fight at the board meeting. And guess what? When the vote is done, the vote is done. Yeah, let's that. When the vote is done, the vote is done. You walk out on the same chapter, on the same page, with the same song. What we don't have is the meeting after the meeting, after the meeting, after the meeting, after the phone call. Because it's dysfunctional. It is dysfunctional. It is toxic. I don't know any other words that I can use for what that is. And when people call me and want to rehash, we don't need to rehash because we just talked about it. Cut them off. Cut in a nice way. Cut them off. What's happening is you're buying into it. You're buying into it. No, you know what? I know. Another book in that. That's what it is. Done. Move on. Move on. You cannot continue to lead down that, to go down that path. When the vote is done, the vote is done. And it's interesting, foster a healthy culture. That's how you foster a healthy culture. That's how you do it. You have a spirited conversation, and then you have a vote, and then you move forward. And guess what? I would be the first to say, you know what? That was right. It worked. I try not to say I was right. It did work. But sometimes. All right. Oh my goodness. Your business confidential. Can I get around? Yeah. You do not discuss your business with other people. Period. If they're not on the board, they're not an officer, they're not a director, they don't need to know. You know what? Back in the old school, don't be telling business in this house out the street. Right? Don't be airing your dirty lines. Y'all how many y'all heard that before? Keep board business in the board. That is so important. Chapters get in so much trouble because if something leaks. So just imagine you're having a challenge. Maybe your president is having some issues and they've asked to step down first, right? And you all are trying to figure out who's going to be the next president, how we're going to manage this. If you don't keep it quiet, it can ruin the relationship with your partners. It can ruin the relationship with your members, as opposed to you being proactive and saying, so-and-so is stepping down, and here's our plan for so-and-so who's going to take that on. And we are so excited for them in their next chapter. It could be their personal decision. It could be not their personal decision, right? But nobody needs to know all that. What they need to know is this great plan that you have to forward. If you guys are out there talking in the community, blah, 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 all of a sudden, your brand can get tarnished. Thank you. Someone took the word right there. Can be tarnished. Actively engage means being prepared. If there's anything out for you to read beforehand so that you can ask questions. If you haven't read it, you certainly can't ask questions. And you can't have a committee meeting and a board meeting. The work is done in committee meetings. The board meeting is just so that you can present the work from the committee meeting and have decisions made. And then do continuous training, just like we're doing now. What is your organizational support? You have your membership, your strategy, committees. These are all the things that you have to support the chapter. I want to go on to more important things. Board member responsibilities. You understand the mission. You attend board meetings. You can't vote if you don't go to the board meeting. You can't have a say if you don't even attend. And guess what? We need a quorum to even have a vote. How many times have you guys been in a chapter meeting to even vote on board business? Anybody been there? Because there wasn't a quorum? Right? So now she said, not this year. Good. You have to attend the board meeting. You know what they are. They're not a secret. Y'all should have a board calendar. And now that you can do virtual and in person, there's really very little reason. If you're on vacation, I mean, I get it. No one expects you to pop off of that. Do your give, get, fundraising committee. Everybody know what give, get is? Okay. Give is you write a check. Get is you go find it. Right? But it is your responsibility to give or get. One or the other, whatever your commitment is. Most chapters have a commitment financially, $1,500, $2,500, right? Prepare for meetings, share professional expertise, engage, respect the opinions of others, support the board's consensus, make a personal donation. This is something that we have to forget about. It's great. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I work for a company and they support me on all the boards that I'm on financially. But one of the things that I do is I make a personal donation too. We're not talking about a big donation. It could be $100 LOT. It could be, you know what, I'm gonna provide breakfast. I'm going to Chick-fil-A and I'm gonna give breakfast. That's a personal donation. Something small. I'm gonna write a check for this particular thing for Ace Power. I still got checks. Somebody else said, thank you. Advocate for others to give. We just talked about that. Advocate. That's the word we want to think about. Advocate. We're not selling. We're advocating, right? Assess your own performance. At the end of the year, how did you do? I went to 8 out of 10 board meetings. I went to all the signature events. I went to 6 of the 12 LOT programs. Assess yourself and then be prepared and willing to lead a committee and to actually serve on the board and not just have your name on it. Types of board members. Okay, y'all. Which one are you? Rainmakers. How many rainmakers we have here? I know, Eric, you got your hand up. You are. I call you. Absolutely. The deal maker. Some of the rainmakers. Absolutely.
That's right. Make the right.
Trophy directors. They bring credibility because of their reputation. Right? Worker bees. They're the ones that get in there and get it done. You know what? Give me the task. I got you. You got to work. Mentors to the president. They help guide the president. Come to the president's ear. They're the ones like, yeah, you know, maybe we should go this way, go that way. Expert sources. These have subject matter experts. And influencers. They have community or political connections. So these are all different types of people. And guess what? You need them all. You need them all. You need some people that are influencers. You need some people that are rainmakers. Because the influencers, they pick up the phone, make one phone call, right? And they can get stuff done. Rainmakers, they know how to get in the door of that corporate partner. They know how to present. They know how to build that relationship to get that money. Worker bees, hey, I got it. When you come, this whole event is going to be set up. You don't have to worry about things. You need them all. Which one are you? Oh, well, Dad, you must be the president. You must be the president because I'm not all of them. Let me tell you, but some people might be. And that's great if you have someone that actually solve it. But which one are you? And you can't be multiple. She's like, which one are you? And then this is what you don't want to be. Are you a resource builder or a resume builder? We don't need any resume builders. We don't need them. The only reason you're on the board is to have National Bank MBA, that you're a board member on your resume. We do not need you. Go find another organization. I'm going to be real honest. Okay, it's true. We need resource builders. We need individuals who are one of those types of members. That you have a role, that you are engaging, you are creating value for this organization. All right. Now let's know the rules. Duty of care, duty of loyalty, duty of obedience. These are the 3 critical duties of any board member. I don't care what board you sit on. This is board member 101. Duty of care. That you fulfill your role to the best of your ability and you participate. That's duty of care, that you take care of the organization and that you engage and you participate. This one, duty of loyalty. Now, this is where we get twisted. We are doing things that are in the best interest of what? The organization. The best interest of the organization, not in the best interest of the individual. We get that twisted. Even as chapter president, are we making decisions because it's good for the organization or it's good for you personally? Or somebody in community development, corporate development? Are you just trying to get in front of that company because you have something you're trying to say, or you're trying to get a job, or you're trying to do something, or are you talking about national life? Now, I do want to preface it with, it's okay to have an individual interest, but what you put first is the organization. Organization comes first. And guess what? If you're not putting the organization first, typically we find out. We've had a corporate partner call and say, this person came here and all we're talking about was their business. And we reprimanded that board member publicly in the board meeting. And we're like, if that happens again, we will put you off the board.
Right.
But the corporate partner told us, wow, all they're talking about is trying to sell their product. Now, it's okay if as a result of the relationship, you ask for a secondary meeting. And then that meeting is about your product. There's nothing wrong with that. But the organization first. And the duty of obedience says that you have to follow the governance. And that's what we just talked about, 990s, right? Having 2 signatures, that's the governance. So these are the 3 basic duties of any board member: care, loyalty, and obedience. And then bylaws. Man, bylaws are tough. I'm bylaws queen. I am usually chair of governance on almost every, redo the bylaws. I'm that girl. I know nobody ever wants to do it. I love it. It's crazy, right? But the bylaws are so critical because it's truly the law. It is what you stand for. But bylaws do need to be changed every now and then. But they don't get changed every month. And they don't get changed. They don't get changed willy-nilly because it ain't working for you, Mr. President. Okay? It is a board decision. And it is something that typically what you do is you keep a running list. Whoever's over governance, or whoever's over bylaws, keeps a running list of things that come up in the bylaws that we need to change. Right? And at the end of the year, there's a recommendation made by the bylaws committee that we're going to change these 10 things. This is how it used to read, and this is how it's now going to read forward. Now I'll give you some quick examples. Nobody uses fax machines anymore. Many of our bylaws said we would fax something, right? Now we do virtual calls. No bylaws had virtual calls. No bylaws had electronic voting. Now many people do that. This is what you want to make sure. The way you operate is the way your bylaws read. If you are operating one way, and that is not the bylaws, then either you need to change the bylaws or you need to change the way you operate. Doesn't always mean the bylaws need to be changed. But something needs to be changed because the way you operate needs to align with the bylaws. And we do this at the national. I'm the one that myself, I led the committee, and we looked at all the bylaws, top to bottom, and made extensive recommendations to update them a couple of years ago, so that we were operating the way the bylaws state. Okay? So you should probably look at your bylaws every year, but you might not change them every year. Okay, conflict of interest, everyone should be signing a conflict of interest statement and an ethics statement. These are very simple statements you can get off of Google, but every board member should sign. There's no conflict of interest. So I have to do it every the National Black MBA, and I have to do it for every board I sit on. That I am not getting any kind of benefit from being on the board, that my spouse does not work for the organization. And if they do, then you just have to disclose it. It doesn't mean you can't do it, it just means you have to disclose it so that everyone knows, yes, my husband works for the National Black MBA organization, so there could potentially be a conflict. That's not true, but there could be potentially a conflict of interest. That's an example. You have to disclose it. So conflict of interest, you should be signing that. You should be signing an ethics statement. And honestly, the third statement is a financial commitment statement. Those are the 3 statements that I sign on most of the boards I sit on. So if the minimum is $1,500, I am committing that I am going to give or get $1,500. I'm committing these are the things where I have conflicts of interest in disclosing them. I'm committing that I am going to work in an ethical way. Those are the 3 documents. Let's talk about that. Board management, really quickly, there should be orientation, assessment, evaluation. Orientation, all board members. If you're new, you should go to orientation. If you're coming back, you should do a refresher. Just as you've been on board, you need to have a refresher. So these are all the things that you should be looking at, the things that we're covering today. These are the things that would be in a board orientation or in a refresher. You should also have board member assessment. I know this is interesting, y'all, but if their values don't align and there are no results, y'all know how to read these grids? What do?
Replace.
You replace them. You replace them. This whole notion that we're scared to like say thank you for your service. And awesome. And we'll see you next time. Okay. You have to be willing to have the right people in the right seats. Now, you don't just, again, willy-nilly get rid of people. You have to figure out what's wrong, right? Figure out what is the challenge. Sometimes life happens. I'm just going to share without any names, right? There was a board member one time. They were so amazing, so amazing. All of a sudden, their performance really dropped. And then people are like, what's going on? They didn't do this, they didn't do that. But you have to have empathy. Right? You have to have some emotional intelligence, y'all. Right? They say this person's been amazing. Now all of a sudden they're not. Well, what we found out after we called, when we talked to the person, they lost their job. And they were homeless. And we did not know. This is life, real stuff. So we gathered together and we helped this person, right? And he has to get back on their feet. And guess what? He came back on board after time, found a job. And I mean, if we just like dismiss them, which we're so quick to do with people, right? So you have to have some emotional intelligence there, right? So if the values are there, the results are there, you retain. If the results aren't there, right, the values are there, maybe you reposition. Maybe that's a wrong role. You have an absentee, you don't need white kids. Okay. Y'all know that's true.
That's true.
I'm just saying, I like other people's kids. Okay. So board evaluation, you should be evaluating yourselves every year. There's a simple board evaluation. This is 1 through 5. Everybody rates themselves and rate the board, and you bring it back and present. How do we do as a board? We said we were going to raise $50,000. We raised $100,000. We said we were going to do 3 signature events. We did 4. Where did we fall down? What could we do better? You can't do better if you don't know what you did. So you need to be evaluating yourself as a board. Okay. This is, I'm not going to read this to you. I am going to send down 7 habits of a high performing board. It's going to have 5 minutes. These are things we already talked about. Because I want to talk about what makes a great board member. This is the last piece, last 5 minutes. Any questions so far? Okay, last 5 minutes. And this is my emotional intelligence at this time. You have to be self-aware. You have to be self-aware of how you come across. Emotional intelligence is key to both personal and professional. This is my favorite visual.
See.
How do you see yourself? How do others see you? You see a lion, you do all that, they're like, they don't even know. They're like a little kitty cat. Right? Or you think you're a kitty cat and you're going and barking and grounding everybody. It's blood and glass everywhere. Have some emotional intelligence. And guess what? If you start doing this in National Black MBA, you also do this at work. You also do this at home. It all carries over. You are not singularly faceted, right? We are multi-faceted. I tell people if you're screaming at work, you're probably screaming at home. Okay? So, what makes you an awesome board member is when you give your time, your talent, and your treasure. All of them. That is what makes an awesome board member. And each of you have the opportunity and the responsibility to do it every day. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to see this room of incredibly smart and gifted people that are willing to volunteer. And we do understand that, Sean said, volunteer and give back. I've been involved in this organization for 4 years in my state as a volunteer because at the end of the day, that's what we always do. So I just want to say thank you. I want to thank you in advance for being an awesome board member. That's what we covered today. I hope you took something away. Did you get one thing?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, when you do this exercise again, it completely changes. You have a whole different perspective. If you want to get in touch with me, there's all my information. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. And I'll be around for the conference all week. I appreciate you and I love you. And all the things out. And this one right here. This one, y'all know how I feel about it. Here, I'm not gonna cry. But Eric, I said, Eric, you need to be on the board. He's like, no. He's my next door neighbor, y'all. This is like, y'all don't be thinking. Next door, for real, we live next door. I said, you need to be on board. He said no, like 5 times. And he served on board. And I said, Eric, you need to be president. He's like, no. He was chapter president. And now we not only are friends, not only are we neighbors, but we are business partners. So I don't know if you guys know this.
Yes, ma'am. Even on my job, I put that slide up and said that I have a wonderful partnership that allows us to be both successful.
And so we're about to open our 4th Jersey Mike this year.
Thank you, Sean. Yes. Tough call. Something from behind. Actually, I've never ever spoken by design. It is incredibly difficult to speak when I speak. But I think it's time. Presidents. Acknowledge that 17 years ago, for conflict, fighting, it was a coup.
See.
Literally, there was a coup. They took over, and Deanna was president, Sean was part so they grew from basically that very little. We have a standing balance of around 250,000. And a lot of that has to do with the succession. So when you have someone on your board that identifies something, on the limited position and enable them to have authority. And there's a couple of ways you can do it. When I took over after Charmaine, she said, just don't mess this up. It wasn't a recovery. It wasn't something I had to build from the ground up. She said, just you have a legacy on it. So I want you to take this building rock. And so when we try to do that, I put this up yesterday. And it was really around example that government that has not developed, and we're in a quandary. Here's our avenue. They stayed with there too long as well. The greatest black boxer in the world, retired in 1977. Felt that he could come back and call Larry Holmes in 1978. He lost 1979. Riddick. And a year later, he was diagnosed. Tired of the age. Jordan, all the Bulls, spent 3 years at the Wizards, sold out every game. With the guy in the middle, Lord, I 40 hours. But they stay at the fair. So they don't really understand. There are 6 ways to really face. You're going to be truly committed to building a team and a system. You start by really having a vision. They have a benchmark for the greatness. And the last one, let go.
See, say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
Doesn't mean that you stop serving. This means that you can't be president for 10 years.
See.
That you have to let someone else be in the position. Let's dig into each one a little bit. So, if you as a board sat in a room and said, hey, what's the future look like? You identify what we want to get this answer. A real conversation about it. Do you even talk about succession? Is that even part of your board meeting, or do you have a board retreat where you spend time walking through what our plan is? I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but I looked and said, there's no better example beyond HBCU, NCC, heads over to Colorado. It becomes a big program, and it's only got 2 years. There's something special. There's something there. And so what is that benchmark? If you look at your current leadership and said, these are the attributes and qualities that identify what a great president looks like. I'm in a silo, but we're talking about an open amongst your board. And more importantly, having provide an example. Said, this is what Deion is doing. Get the football from. Think about the number of players that follow him. That's really what's up. 95 players were replaced when you got to the organization. What scared the people off the bus? You got criticized and said you cannot revamp from the ground up and not win. So I got people to do it. Right out the gate. Biden, inauguration, genius. We're reaching back, looking at our future leaders and they scare us. Should not. Are you spending time finding who's next? Someone who actually may be on the board a year, but they have some qualities that I've identified that make them president material, and you're going to piss some people off. You've been waiting on the sideline for 8 years, thinking it's their turn, it's my turn up, just keep running. But you got a rock star who's in front of you. You should have an opportunity. For those who don't know Bill Walsh, I put him up here. Bill Walsh was the San Francisco 49ers coach. Of that, he won 4 Super Bowls, which is great, hard to do in itself. But he had members on his staff that 28 of them wound up being head coaches. 28. 3 of them were from the first Black coaches. Tomlin is still coaching his first teams. One of the winningest coaches on the planet. Longest streak of having been part of the playoffs and not having a losing season. So Bill Walsh, although he could coach, and he did better than anybody else, especially the coaches, he put them in position to care, grace. Are you sharing and communicating with your board? You are taking your feelings into consideration. You can still be fair and firm,
must be conscious. Everyone's not going to win. I actually, when I was president, someone ran against me. I was on the board, and I almost, I was, they're all in my feelings. I really did. It took someone, Charlene pointed it out, you have to kind of rise, pull it to the side and say, you need to embrace. And we wound up putting that in back. It's one of the best decisions I have in regards to service. Communicate with grace. If you win and someone runs against you, banish them from the chapter, pissed off, tell them they can't come back, and all of that. Just put your arms around them. Know that their heart's in the right place. Maybe it's just they're not ready yet. Maybe share with them. These are some of the things to sit on. Let go. Some are holding on way too long. But if you thought about it, after your term and you're moving to your next phase, maybe you should start creating a narrative. I was the president of the Atlanta chapter. Exactly. It's led to purchase of a franchise. That's my narrative. So it was great that I served. It was fantastic. And I had a board member who was ready to come. So he's a Travis. It's a long tree. Next president's in this room. The Atlanta chapter. They're active. Actually come to leadership. They don't do a flyby. I want to be president now because they're not doing it for the right reasons. We'll stop there for a minute. See if there are any questions. We did this exercise, and this thing we did at a retreat. Our board did a discussion, had a discussion about influence. And we thought about, okay, if you have power, you think that's the greatest influence there is? Actually, no. It's not. You got some, you identified. They want to be the man. They get to become president. It was so really, really nice when they were on the board. It was just so pleasant. Then when they become president, all of a sudden, they want to tell everybody. Self-centered, people won't have, they're scared to have an opposing view. They're feared. It's not sustainable. Because when you actually leverage things, it is exponential. Power goes away from you as a position. So how many are present in the chapter? Then they leave to go do something else, and they see the legacy that others who serve with them becomes followers. Do the people who work and serve with you on the board go on to do things? I got a question. Those who are president today or have been president, those who serve on the board, can you clearly identify those board members that have been promoted on a new job? Got a new job as a result? Went on to serve on other boards? If you're thinking about that and you self-reflect, the answer might be not many. And that's where you start today. Say, okay, I have to do a better job. Because the people around you that serve on the board with you. So maybe it's about power. two types of influencers, both successful in their own right. Magic Johnson actually is more successful, world known as a businessman today. Those who don't know who Floyd Mayweather is, he's the only boxer on the planet to have undefeated. Innovative, he was no promoter. Prize money, most of any other fighter on the planet. They really don't like. So we said, as a board, what kind of influence are you? And are you honest about it? Humble. Are you reaching back and helping others? I started doing this image reference 2002. As a mentor of mine said there are two types of journalists in the world. One they shot in the front, one they shot in the back.
Whoa.
Which one do you want to do? So there are real examples of traits decorated during the Iraqi war. He was always constantly doing it. During the Obama administration, it was disgraced because fair, wound up with secrets and sharing to his the man who actually ran, Arrow actually ran, he was never on TV. He was loved and adored by his troops. And when he got done serving, he wound up being on the board. So I wanted to give what we believe is the 6 principles of power. And we as a board, we went through and identified who on the board represents those particular things. You should do that. It's around value. You then put in words and say, what are our values? You want to ask me right now? Okay.
Are you going to share the slides? Are you going to share the slides?
I absolutely am going to share this.
Thank you.
So this is great. As I mentioned before, now we have tracks. We think about the levels, some of my brothers think about levels of it. Sonia was corporate partners, driving the money during our recovery, one of the president. She's still here at a leadership retreat. It's not by coincidence that we continue to do well, financial ability, grow, membership. It is a long legacy of success. And we move out of the way. As past President Travis runs the board, his whole staff. Charmaine does not get involved, she may advise, you have a pivot. This is his board. He asked me to do this. We talked and said, hey, what are you? Who are you? What principles? We identified our values and said, hey, we'll be honest, passionate, sincere. We agreed to that. Then we went deep. Said, okay, who's reciprocity? People love working with them, they do the right thing. They were willing to break over distance for you. You know what that is. Sean. Because I don't think there's one person in the room who does not go from Sean if she actually. As hard as she works with the checks, as accessible as she is, you can call her at any time of the day, she's there. Consistency. 6-0, by the way. Consistent. No questions. knew he was gonna deliver. One thing at the bottom is the mind's push. I change. I mean, I like it all the way on the way. This is who I am. Who is always consistent. Social. Word is the gospel. They are trusted. They have the ability to provide reach beyond the other members of the board. Like who's likable? Who you know that is the most social? Actually, Michelle is more likable than her husband, who hadn't been president. Authority absolutely has a history of providing long line of success. It's almost like a good housekeeping facility. I'm gonna date myself if there's a commercial, get that. So people will listen. Who is that? We get paid. He said, wait, good. So scarcity component of that is a perceived lack of good, tall, dark skinned black. It's perceived. May not necessarily be true. Just so, how about that? You gotta be tall and dark. How does a regular light skinned brother? There is no excuse. So, I ask you at the break, from your board members who are here with your answers. Hopefully you got this. Yeah, right. Say, what do you think, man? What do you think? You think that authority? Maybe ask yourself, say, why I think I'm so. Yeah, but you don't post, right? You don't really have that level of influence. And I'm not being self-aware. But it really starts around I was on a job interview and said, hey, we already know you're confident. We know you got the competencies, you got the skills and all that. We just want to know, you just want to wait for years. You like a little after time. I don't have to. I want to. That makes a difference. Are you committed? Our main middle slide says, oh, really about your resume? Or are you here to serve the organization? Are you honest? What is your selling? What did you do differently than everybody else? We were at dinner last night. I went around to my board members and served. I said, what do you do superpowers? You think you do better than anybody else? And he said, well, you think you need people better than me? Well, so think about that. What is it that you are better or that you believe is equality that all significance is a powerful, powerful. Because mentor was sitting with me and he said, look at the progression best athletes on right around 31, 32. We start creating all these foundations. I said, because they have shelter, not all that money. I said, no. It's a natural human progression. To start your life with success, you target success. You start your life with success. You target trying to be success. And that's kind of where some of us are in our careers. Growing. You're young in your career, you want to have success. But I'm saying at some point in time, you have to identify when you want to be successful. What I'm trying to say is the Black MBA openness. So this is not about you getting access to a better job. Now, practice. Talking about practice. Practice. But where the practice which is important practice coaching, practice 100%. At our board retreat, we have some exceptionally talented project will hold you accountable, wonderful for us to timelines, clients. These work on presentation. So we are asked that you stand up and say, oh, you start doing some of the decks, start walking through some of the programming, so that you develop and be more comfortable as you're presenting. So that when you get to the job, I say, hey, you're fine going through the annual report. You didn't know us. Now, and then that becomes catastrophic. So, last one at the bottom here is, I think it's important to not be more lead, learn,